Hey, well, welcome to the Afterburn podcast. This is episode number 5 and one of my favorites to date. I'm honored to have Emily Booth on this episode. She's a master cycle instructor, the national director of cycle at Lifetime. She runs the Lifetime Academy at her location. She's contributed some of the content to the most well-known group fitness certification programs in the U.S., such as AFA and NASM. And if you love anything about what I do, she's been one of the biggest contributors to my knowledge, to everything I know about cycle. She is my mentor. She is Emily Booth. She is amazing. This is the Afterburn podcast. Let's get into it. Well, welcome, Emily, to the Afterburn podcast. I'm so grateful that you're on this show today. I don't even know what to call it, a show or a podcast or an episode. I don't even know. But I'm so honored to have you today. If there was one person that I could say in my indoor cycling career that has had the biggest impact, and I mean that with all of my heart, as far as me finding a deeper passion, a better understanding, and just a way of putting things together that actually makes sense for a class, has been Emily Booth. It's been you. So thank you so much for being on this podcast with me today. Thank you.
Well, now you've done it, because how am I going to talk after that? Because I'm going to cry. But I'm so honored to be here with you and so proud to be just a part of, each other's journeys. Right. We're all on this ship together. And I couldn't be more excited for all the things that you're doing, and grateful for the opportunity to join you in this awesome endeavor in a space that we both agree maybe hasn't really existed yet.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, how there, I've done a little research. I don't know that there's a whole lot of, if any, podcasts that talk just about indoor cycling. And so if there isn't, let's start it. Yeah.
We should totally be doing it.
Yes. And like we talked about before, you have so much, and I want to share briefly, I want you to share a little bit about you and history so everybody knows. But we met, we just talked about this about 10 years ago. At the end of this year, it'll be 10 years ago when I applied at Lifetime, and I had been teaching at where was I teaching at 24-Hour Fitness, and then Bally's before that, and was invited to go auditioned in Centennial. Then Centennial, they sent me over to Emily, and that's where we met over 10 years ago. And I remember that, and I'll share a little bit more about that here in a minute. But would you just share briefly who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into some details later.
All right. Well, I'm Emily Booth. I am, I guess I'd like to say that the fitness industry chose me, maybe not. Briefly, my background, I was kind of, I was a singer, dancer, actor, definitely not a great dancer. I fit in the category of singers who move well, which basically means you don't dance well enough to get cast unless you're the very best.
You sing great, though. I've heard you sing great.
So I've been obsessed with, I'm going to say this word, aerobics. For whatever reason, for a very long time. I started running. I ran my first 5K when I was 8 years old. I loved it. I always loved it's probably maybe the only kid. Maybe I'm old enough that we still did the fitness test. Did you ever do the presidential fitness test, Joe?
No.
You didn't have the little badges where you did the presidential fitness test. You could do as many push-ups or pull-ups. And
in elementary school. And
Yes. Yes, that is the beginning of my fitness journey. I loved all that stuff.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I got honorable mentions all the time, though.
I like to get a badge, right? And I only bring that up because I feel like why it informs who I became, or influences how I became me. I did that stuff, but I was also super into, obviously, the music, the theater, all of it. But somehow these two worlds that I could have never imagined converging, somehow converged in my life for me to be on the path that I ended up on, which was thinking I was going to do, teach some fitness classes in high school and college. And then I was done. And I can tell you the rest of that story later because it's kind of funny. But finding my way into the fitness industry through music, through performance, I feel like was a really great opportunity for me, that it was just a natural thing for me. Maybe not only like you being used to being in front of a lot of people and sharing your thoughts, but somehow I'm a knowledge geek. I like endurance sports. I love music. Somehow all of that converged for me in the timeline of my life to make me want to be able to share that with other people.
Love it. Love it. Now you're currently, and we're gonna go a little deeper with that, because that's a pretty profound right there, and there's a lot to unpack with just what you said. But you're currently, we both share a title of Master Stages Educator. Your Stages Indoor Cycling. You're also the Lifetime Academy Master Trainer. So anybody that works at our company at Lifetime who wants to get certified, they're going to go to you and see you for 8 or 12 weeks and come out fully cooked, right? And then ready to practice.
That's the goal. Like, I love being able to, so yes, Lifetime Academy has been an incredible opportunity to reach as many folks as possible. Because I think that I'm fond of saying with new technology, you need new tools, right? And a lot of times that evolution hasn't happened. So I love being able to capture people, and that's a terrible word to use, capture, but to engage folks that are just getting started and say, look, and I think we're going to get deeper into all of this, but here's all the different ways now of experiencing this awesome thing of riding a bike that goes nowhere.
Yes. I got that.
All the ways that this can work. And I want to talk about all of them with you and help you find your way. And maybe this is my theater background, but you always want to be a triple threat, right? You want to be somebody that could sing, that could act, that could dance. And in my world with indoor cycling, I'm like, you want to be a triple threat. You want to be somebody that can dance on the bike, that can be the ultimate athletic coach, and that can find the middle ground.
Yes.
And I feel like as we're going to expand into this conversation, that's where we really want to go, right? Is that there's more than one way to ride a bike that goes nowhere.
Yes. I love that. I love that. You're also, you help open our new clubs too, what they call
I do
new club opening trainer
education. And then I have the absolute tremendous honor of being a member for the last several years of the National Academy of Sports Medicine, the NASM Scientific Advisory Board. So I feel like that sometimes I get a little bit like, oh man, I don't have enough PhDs for this because they're awesome. But I also feel like it's valuable to come from a perspective too of what it looks like boots on the ground, right? I never want to forget what it, being able to translate the stuff that a lot of people don't want to look at. We live in a world of obviously clickbait, all the stuff that it just, hey, headline, but I like to try to find a way to bridge that in my classes, to take things that are maybe seem too complicated or not relevant and put them into a context that everybody can benefit from.
I love that. I love that. So here's what I was reminded of you recently, even though we hadn't talked for a while. Here's why. Let me tell you this story. Over COVID, we reopened, right? And after, they let us, and we were the mask thing and all that. And I was like hyper focused as a studio leader to, provide the best ways to get our people back into the classes, people healthy, all of the above. And time kept going by. And finally, I realized that I had not renewed my group fitness certification. And I was way past like just renewing it. So I had to start all over. And so I went to NASM AFA, website, paid for it, I had to go through the whole thing like I was a brand new instructor. Yep. And so I'm going through it, and I get to the part where this is written by Emily Booth. And I was like, yes. I was like, this is the good stuff right here. And so props to you, because I knew that, but for whatever reason, like I was all my admiration and just honor of knowing you like rose up again. I'm like, oh, like this is so cool that she wrote some of the curriculum for instructors, thousands and thousands and thousands that go through these certifications to learn how to be the best group fitness instructor. And so I just wanted to share that with you because I thought that was so cool.
Well, that means a lot, and what a great honor for me. I was thrilled to be able to participate, and I continue to do that as much as I can, and just trying to evolve and continue to improve how we as the fitness professional community, whatever iteration that is, whether it's group fitness, personal training, or a hybrid, as most of us are living now, that there are certain principles that I think are important. And I recall being terrified as a new instructor learning stuff because I thought, I don't know enough. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I don't know. And I think that I still don't know what I don't know. And I'm thankful for that in the sense that it keeps me humble. I try to keep me humble. I think we can all learn from that. But yeah, being able to try to like help others through maybe make something more interesting than it was, or make it a little stickier. And then, by the way, there's a whole new iteration I think it's even new and improved. Lots of great stuff coming. But regardless of what organization, one thing that concerns me, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole yet, maybe we will.
Sure.
But
let's just talk.
Is the disregard for the importance of education as a fitness professional.
Okay. And what do you mean by that? Like, do you mean?
I mean that I don't know that the certification requirements are upheld in every organization.
Okay.
Or that I would love to see more specific continuing education.
Yes.
That helps to ensure that we're all on the same page. I feel like it's confusing as for the consumer. I think with the consumer in mind, like how confusing it must be to navigate the space, right? And how do you know who to trust?
Yes.
How do you know what's going to help you? How do you know that even if something is good in some context, that it might not be helping you achieve your specific goal?
Got it.
Right? Like,
got it.
There's all different ways we could look at that, right? We could slice that all different ways, but the bottom line is not every workout's perfect for everybody at every time.
Right.
And so how do you find so I would look at how do we help individuals, especially I think we can do this really well on the bike, but we got to know what we're doing a little bit.
Sure.
Like, know what we want to do.
Yeah. Navigate
between the goal of health, fitness, and performance, because those are all different things.
Yes. Man. Okay. We're going there already. I like it. So unpack that a little bit more. Let's just go there. We have, as instructors, we have, and let me start here. I want to describe my experience going into your class, and then we'll unpack that same thought of what you were just saying. And then we're going to rewind the tape a little bit later. And because I love what you said about how your theater, and your love for music and your love for aerobics like came together, because I have a lot I want to learn more about that, and I think everybody would love to hear that part of your story. And then I want to share a little bit of my story and kind of how the same thing came together. Not that this is about me, but it's
totally about you. Come on now.
Well, this conversation sparks like that whole side of how these things come together, and hopefully we can encourage somebody else to bring maybe parts of their life that are compartmentalized. They don't realize that these things go together. Like you could work together with these things. So when I go to an Emily Booth cycling class, the first thing I feel is love. I walk into the room, I feel love, I feel support. And that is already due to the community that has been created, that exists. Okay. Now that doesn't happen overnight, but I'm just giving you my experience. Right. And then we can unpack that. You feel, a welcoming, even if nobody says anything. Okay. You sit next to somebody and you feel comfortable. and again, this is the environment that I've experienced going into your class. And then you get on the mic, the light comes down. And I remember back in the day, you would have this disco light. We have better lights now.
Better lights, yeah.
But do you remember the disc? I know you remember the disco lights.
I was trying.
It was amazing. No, we all did, right? We all brought little extra lights and different things to do it. Now it's much better than that. But then you start with, and what I've learned from you, you start with this profound statement. If you've ever wanted to reach a certain goal or feel what it is like to be an athlete, you have some kind of statement, right? That makes me think, I wasn't thinking about that, but now I am, now I think I do want to be that. And then the music, you know so much about music. You're able to give us little tidbits about, at least in my experience, with the music you're using, why you're using it, how it corresponds with the workout, the programming, right? And then we have fun, and then there's purpose, and then there's celebration, and then there's community, and then there's connection, and you leave just like, what just happened right now? Like this is my experience with going to your class, inspired, great workout, party environment. And I know I got some things done, and I feel better, and I know I'm better as a result of it. Can you unpack that as it relates to
first,
everything that we just
share with you? And I don't know, forgive me if I have said this to you before, but I think you will uniquely, for reasons I think we all know, appreciate my next statement here. But the best compliment I ever received was from someone that I didn't think was going to give me a compliment. And this young lady came up to me after class and said, "So, came to your class. I just see what all the hype was about." She's like, I get it. I feel like I got my ass kicked and I went to church at the same time.
Yeah. I love it.
And that was maybe the best compliment
oh my God.
that I have ever received in my life.
That's so
I'm
good.
like, you just distilled in me what I didn't know I was trying to do, but I absolutely knew I was trying to do, right? And put it into terms. So however you want to interpret that, the bottom line is what I hope for people is that, and I think when we do this well, right? I mean, when we do this well, there's something unique about having people in one space. And I think yoga can kind of do that as well, in the sense that you're not moving around a lot.
Sure.
You can really hold someone in an emotional state. Yeah. And I do believe that the research bears out a lot of like that. Once we start going, like, it's the reason you become best friends with the people that you do your long workouts with, if you're an endurance athlete.
Yes.
Or you kind of get in this flow, but we become more emotionally open, maybe a little bit more emotionally malleable when we're in that state, which is why part of, I believe it's so, there's some, I would have to double check some research on this. Where's your assistant, Joe? Sorry, just kidding.
Our little chat GPT.
Where's my Jamie?
Right.
Check it out.
Yeah. I'm not that Joe. No, I'm the
not that Joe. Oh, shucks. Okay. Our fact check. But we know anecdotally, and now the science bears out, how much emotional and psychological benefit, even neurological benefit, in addition to the physiological benefits of what we do. And I think it's unique in indoor cycling because we are just there, right? And to speak to what you asked about, like setting this the tone, setting the environment, right? We have to create an environment that people feel welcome in. And I feel like that was something that I came later to, that I had to that I really had to work on. Was like understanding every personality and the different personalities that might be in my room, and how I could not be the scary girl that runs ultra marathons and plays a lot of EDM, right? Like how I knew that would hit some people, and I don't want to be, I know that I'll never be exactly what every person needs or wants, but how could I not alienate certain people that would be part of the community if they only saw a little bit more of the softer side of me?
Yes. And
without compromising who I am as a human, which is that I do love EDM. I do love I love the science of things, and you're gonna come away hopefully a little bit of a smarter, I want to say athlete, because I think every human, I feel like we cannot differentiate. And I feel like that's the thing that so many times we're like, well, I'm not this, so this doesn't apply to me. And so I'll say, are you a cyborg? And,
right.
So long as we all share the same general human physiology, we maybe didn't start soon enough or, pick the right parents to be at the elite level of sport, but that doesn't mean that the same physiological principles don't apply. Also, at the same time, to your point, we also can be really boring if all we do is apply those principles. If we don't simultaneously engage people on the principles of the science of music and motivation, of what it can actually do for sports performance or athletic performance, and understanding the principles of communication and motivational psychology. Like, I know this sounds like a lot, but the thing is that there's a lot more to this than just like, I'm going to get up on the bike and yell at people and play some music for a while.
Right.
And if, I challenge and I encourage anyone that wants to be part of that to go full speed ahead, but to recognize, maybe the first thing you should do if you love your cycle instructor, go give them a hug, because they've spent time doing the thing that they do.
I love that. I love that. There's so much again, this can be unpacked layer upon layer. But to your point about what it does for us, and you say it a lot more eloquently than I do. I'm just kidding. But indoor cycling was one of the only classes where I hear people say, I needed this. Like, this is my place. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen in another, barbell class and a HIIT class and a bar class and and probably more commonly in a yoga that would happen too. But indoor cycling specifically, it's this thing that people might not even understand what happens. They go in there, the lights go dim, they get a great workout, and they feel so much better. It's their therapy, it's their time, it's their selfless selfish time they have, if you will. And you explained why that is, because of the benefits of the workout itself, the focus. I love
my class, Therapy Thursdays.
There you go.
Sometimes, but I think to expand on that just a little bit, and you might understand this as well and be able to expand. You do endurance sport, but there's something that happens when you're able to just focus. And trust me, I've done all the things and taught all the things, but when you're constantly like, whether you're teaching kickboxing or you're doing something, step aerobics, there's a lot of things going on. So your mental engagement is more about on the actual movement in the moment, right? Sure. Versus like being on a long run, being on the bike, where you can just sit in it.
That's the difference right there.
I think that for me, that's the difference.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is, but I feel like, and indoor cycling so uniquely, as you and I both know, provides a modality for almost everybody.
Yeah.
There are so few people that can't benefit from this. And it's the most customizable, everybody from somebody going through rehab for a joint replacement to an elite athlete can be sitting next to each other.
Yes.
In indoor cycling. And at the very least, enjoying the music together, sweating together. And, in the most important moment, they can be like people that would never be together.
Yeah.
And feel like they're part of the same community and tribe. Or even if they're on the floor, like if I can't jump and you're doing burpees, then I see that difference.
Yes.
But if I'm riding the bike next to you and we're both adding relative or doing the thing relative to our own abilities, we're together.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yep. I love that. One of the things that I say, and I probably got it from you at some point, but I say we would normally not hang out together. Everybody in this room, we wouldn't be hanging out together. But in here, we have a common goal. We have a common, what's the word? we have this common purpose that we want to achieve, this value of our body, this value of our time, this value of tuning ourselves up. And in this moment we're together, this is what we have in common, and that's exactly what you're describing there, because that's what happens. I mean, and I don't, and me, I'm a pastor too. So it's the same thing at church. I would say, we all leave this place, and for most of us, we don't hang out, but the common thing we have is our faith. Right. And so it's kind of, there's so many similarities.
There is something there. I 100% agree. And I love the ability to all progress together differently.
Yeah.
And I don't see that in very many things. There's something really special. And I would say very selfishly for myself as a ultra distance runner, as a runner, all the things I've done, that nothing gives me the same feeling as indoor cycling.
Love it.
I can get in that place running sometimes, but the only thing that is equivalent for me, and also just shameless plug of indoor cycling, like every time I've been injured as a runner, it's the only thing I can do.
Yeah.
If I've ever had to cross train or been able to maintain that, and I know so many other folks that do the same thing, that use indoor cycling as a supplement to their run training. And also, I know we're going to go there, but I'll just say right now, as a person that loves like EDM culture and music festivals, that it's kind of like you can exercise and go to a festival at the same time. Like, doesn't really get much better.
Right. No, I love that. So I want to unpack a little bit more about like the multiple things that go on in for an instructor at the same time. And I want to share the tools that I've learned from you. And then I want you to break that down a little bit, where you started and then how you've added and fine-tuned those tools along the way. So what I mean by that, when I started, I had a love for music, and I had a natural, I was comfortable in front of people because I had already been pastoring for a while. So giving a sermon, teaching the Bible was pretty natural to me. And so it was easy for me to be in front of people. I loved music. I was part of a band growing up, loved EDM, church music, like all of the above. So I always knew the drops in the music, the chorus, the bridge, the intro, the outro. I knew the components of how a song structure is. And so those two things got me a good start, being comfortable, knowing when we're going to do, a push, an interval, whatever we want to call it, an acceleration, an opportunity. There's so many things that we call them. So I naturally knew that, and I kind of got my initial launch just with that. Okay. So I did relatively well early on at Bally Total Fitness in Thornton. But when I met you, I felt like, to your point earlier, I don't know anything right now, because Emily just completely like went and showed me some things that were not even on my radar. And what I mean specifically about that was the metric side of things, the knowledge, the information side of things, because I was more of a feelings type of person, right? But I didn't have the facts behind it, right? If we could say it that way. Sure. I know that so there was nothing, no metrics behind it. It was just like a party. I would do some themes, with the music, and maybe the day, maybe Valentine's, maybe, whatever it was. But I never had a radar for, this is going to boost your stamina today. This is going to activate the metabolism. This is going to help the endurance side of your training. And not only that, but we're going to make it simple by breaking it into challenges and breaking it into this, 3, 9, 10 opportunities during this challenge to go 30 seconds at a high, I had nothing of that on my radar. Okay. And that was where I felt like I was reborn in your church. All right. I didn't know anything about that. And so now those of those who are listening to this, if you've ever taken my classes, either in person or online, information is like my jam. Like I love giving information because that was such a valuable addition to my passion for indoor cycling, which I owe all credit, to you. And I mean that sincerely. Now it's just a huge piece of what I do. And I don't know indoor cycling without it. So with that said, there is education, right, that we want to give. There is inspiration. There is motivation. There is creating culture of community. There's reaching what I would call the first-time guest, giving them something that they love or they find value in. There's the returner, somebody who was gone for the summer or coming back from an injury. And then there's the regular. And so you have 3 different groups of people, the guest, the regular, and the returner. Then you have the music. Then you have the lighting. Then you have the volume levels. Then you have the inflection of the voice. I mean, we could keep going and go and go. There's so many layers, right, to what we do. I learned the information side, and I know I just said a mouthful, but can you unpack your journey and how eventually you put boxes together from theater to if that makes sense?
Absolutely it does. And as you were speaking, I was kind of thinking all of a sudden, going back to, I'll think back to, I wish first of all, anybody that took a class from me or was a personal training client 20 years ago, come to see me, I'll give you your money back.
We all started somewhere.
But we all started somewhere, and I kid, but you don't know what you don't know. And there's always more to learn. Right. And so the first thing I want to make sure we all just, wherever you are in your journey, more movement is better. Right. But if we come back to the continuum that we talked about from health to fitness to performance, I want to keep that top of mind. And then I'll start with the fact that I knew nothing about this when I started. I started out in my fitness career, if you will, teaching step classes. Okay. And also as a music, I've been on stage all my life, doing dinner theater and all that stuff, right? I have a degree in musical theater. I planned on, this was a college job I wasn't going to, do. And then I found myself practicing step routines, much to the dismay of the people that live below me in my little condo complex, as evidenced by many late night calls. What are you doing?
Yes, stop. Yeah.
That I should have been getting my audition stuff ready or deciding which Z I was going to use and to do these things. And I just kept finding myself not wanting. I had this first moment. So I'm going to tell you 2 moments that were pivotal for me.
Okay.
When I decided I was going to go in this direction, try to be brief, but the first was realizing that I had been on stage and I loved the clap in the dark, but there was something way more meaningful to me about everybody clapping together for each other at the end of class and the same faces that I could see, not people in the dark in an audience, but all of us together doing this thing. I was like, this is pretty cool. This is kind of magical. Yeah. And then the second thing happened when I moved to San Francisco and I had planned to never, I was like, I said I taught my last step class in Boulder and I'm moving away. And then my landlord, who was nuts, that's a whole other conversation for a different time, comes up and says, what do you do? And instead of me saying, I'm a singer or I'm an actress, I said, I'm a fitness instructor. And he immediately called the 24-hour fitness that was down the street that was opening, which is where I'd been explicitly told not to go, by the way, by my colleagues at the place I was teaching in Boulder. And somehow, through the grace of everything, that I made it to, and I'm going to say her name in case anybody knows. She's a brilliant woman. Her name is Pam Edwards, and she was an incredible mentor to me when I was a really dumb and scared, just out of college, don't know what I'm doing with my life, thought I was going to go this way and ended up going this way. And it just kept happening, right? Everywhere that I finally looked at it and is like, this is what I want to do. I'm not giving up on pursuing this thing. Yeah. I keep steering myself here because I love this. Yeah. Then my first indoor cycling experience, I have 2 indoor cycling experiences I have to tell you.
Okay.
One, terrible, absolutely the worst. I had heard about this thing called spinning, and I didn't really know what it was. And what I wanted as a present for college graduation was to go to the IDEA conference.
Okay.
I wanted to go see what it was all about.
And for those who don't know what that is, tell just briefly what was the idea.
So like it was in the time, especially the biggest industry conference. Like all of my mentors were talking about you're going to go for 3 days, usually in someplace sunny and warm, where you're going to take 8,000 different sessions, remember nothing, and get your continuing education credits. But I was like, I have to go be with all the superstars of the fitness industry. This is where I belong. I want to go. And it was cool. I mean, I love that. And I know I'm not, there's no knock on it, but I went to go take and I rode my bike, right? I lived in Boulder. I go to take an indoor cycling session. I didn't want to tell you what date this was, but it might have been like 1999. Okay. Somewhere. And I go take a class from someone who was not very nice. In the sense that this person was very much about, and this is like ironic now, like riding on the beat, but it was very fast. And there was like a lot of choreography, which I find very funny now that kind of like, this is new. It's like, oh, no. We were doing that a long time ago, but I'm like, this does not look like the cycling that I am used to. I ride my bike and here I am. I have a degree in music, right? Or I'm studying music. I've been a musician all my life. And this woman comes up and gets in my face. It's like, can't you hear the beat? Can't you hear the beat? And I'm just like, I can hear it. My legs are not going to go that fast.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I hate this. I never want to do this indoor cycling thing. And I won't talk about which program it was.
Okay.
But it was not a good experience.
Okay.
And several years later, when I went and experienced a different version, is when I kind of fell in love with it. But I felt like the biggest fraud for the longest time because I have that, whenever, if you have the imposter syndrome about anything, like I didn't want to teach kickboxing until I took martial arts. I was like, and I'm like, okay, well, it's indoor cycling. And there was a guy that I had a crush on that we taught a class. And then after we got done, he's like, so are you a cyclist? And I was like, I ride my bike to work. He's like, no, are you a cyclist? And I'm like, I don't think so. And if you're a girl that likes a guy that's a cyclist, you know what you do?
Yeah.
You buy a bike.
All right.
Become a cyclist. And that is how I became an outdoor cyclist.
Okay.
It was all because of a guy.
That's funny. That's so good.
And I learned so much about that. And he told me, he helped me get a bike. And I immediately was like, well, I'm going to go pick up the bike from the bike store. I bet I had no money. I was so poor. And I took all the money that I had because he was really cute. And I'm like, I have got to become a cyclist.
Yeah.
And so he helped me get a bike that was custom made for a smaller person that was a female from his racing team that didn't want it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get this super cool bike. And he's like, well, don't go get it without me. I'm like, why not? I'm going. So I immediately went and got on the bike and wiped out in the middle of Van Ness, which for anybody that knows San Francisco, falling off your bike sideways as you're trying to turn into Van Ness, not a good idea.
Oh no.
So I have made every blunder, this journey for me from indoor to outdoor and back and everything else that it can be it's really, it's been such a huge part of my life for such a long time. And once I took the step into indoor cycling, I just kept going further and further in it because nothing else gave me that feeling. So I know that was a very long answer, but hopefully you got a little bit of a laugh out of it.
No, I love that. I love
and,
that. I
fell in love.
I love that. It was kind of the opposite for me.
And him. No, just kidding.
I was into mountain biking before I was into indoor cycling. I didn't even know it was a thing. I've seen it, walked past it in the gym a few times or whatever, but I was more into outdoor mountain biking, not road biking specifically, but mountain biking. And so that was, something I loved. And then I had a friend, was single at the time, And she said, "Hey, I want to take you to the class that it's going to be unbelievable. You're never going to forget it. You need a towel. Make sure you bring your water." Like, she was so pumped about it. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. And it was an indoor cycling class. It was Angel.
I knew it. Oh my gosh. I was just going to say, was it Angel?
Yes. That was my first class.
That was her jam.
Yeah. Yes. It's so Angel Edwards, right? Is who we're talking about. Was it? I think it was.
Angel, yeah.
Yes. Well, there's two Angels. There was Angel.
Roost.
Yeah, Roost. Yeah, I think it's Edwards now, but I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, we know who it is.
That's the same person. So she actually helped me later. That's maybe another part of the story. But went into her class for the first time, and she had the music. She had the people. And this was before I was instructing. This was just me being somebody who attending a class. And if I'm honest, like you said, you were honest, you got a bike because of a cute guy. I started going to classes because there was like 85% ladies in the class. I think this is a great place to be. And so that was, it was me already liking being on a bike, having that, like, being familiar, but that was super helpful. And then the music was super helpful. And then the community was so engaging. And then everybody was so accepting. I mean, like, I couldn't get enough, I couldn't get enough. And that was back in, 2009, something like that. Like, I'm still kind of new to this, I think. But that was back then, right? I think that was around.
Things have evolved.
Yeah.
I mean, think about even since then, the tools that we have. So I think I'd love to, I think we mentioned it, like, what's it like today, right? What are the tools that we have as instructors that we didn't have before?
Right.
So many tools.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have like a console. We didn't have a power meter. It was literally about how you felt. Like, it was.
We didn't even know what we were supposed to feel. If it's like, if it's hard, it must be good.
Right. If I sweat a lot or I'm breathing heavy, that was the best class ever. I mean, I remember, I could specifically say it again, talk about, giving refunds back, I one time I remember saying, you'll get a break in 45 minutes. And it was a 45-minute class, it was, in other words, we're just going to go. There was no room for recovery. Recovery wasn't even on my radar. Yeah. It was just like, go, which I have to say, I have to admit this, one of the first times you came to my class, I think it was the first time, it was years ago. You came early in the morning at a 5:30 class that I had. And I think back to that class and I'm like, geez, my resets, which, what everybody would understand as recoveries, were like only a minute. And like, it was, purposeful, but super like light on the recovery side. And I think back to that and how encouraging you still were. And I can't help but think you were probably thinking this guy still might not get it right. It was a bad class and everything, but you learn, you get better as it goes. I was still a little bit new. In fact, I was thinking, before this interview, you were gracious enough years ago to invite me onto Fox News, our local news channel, if you remember that. Yeah, it was so fun. I think that was the same morning you came to my class, and then we had rented a van and put.
Was it you all? Don't worry, it was not a van. It was a big you.
Yes, that was so fun. We literally loaded up a couple of bikes, took them to the news. It was 4 bikes, I think.
Yep.
Because we each had one, and then we had 2 extra for the news anchors that were riding with us. I have that comes up in my Facebook memories. I'll put some photos right now during this, of that time. But I remember just being so honored and thank you again. Like that was like one of the huge things for me, that I could remember in just my continuing opportunities that I've been given. But that was a lot of fun. That was fun.
No, there's I think we were living in an interesting time, and I know I think you talked about maybe discussing like, where's inner cycling going? Where is it one thing about the bike the bike that goes nowhere, we have new tools, which I would say to any instructor, come on, like we can measure things we couldn't measure before.
Yeah.
You don't have to use it, but you have to know that it's there.
Yeah.
Right. So if you wanted to, again, what are you trying to accomplish? Yeah. Right. Health, fitness, performance continuum. But if somebody's doing the same thing, relatively speaking, day after day, and expecting to see changes that maybe they're not perceiving because they're not challenging their body appropriately in each energy system or in a balanced way or overdoing high intensity, right? Like exercise is medicine. You got to get the dose right. So if you're doing, hey, I'm a fan of doing indoor cycling 5-6 days a week.
Yeah.
I'm not running, I'm doing it. But you can't go the same intensity every day.
Correct.
Right. So, and we as instructors, we don't know that's the challenge, and we don't know who's coming. So I think being able to be intelligent or be intentional, right? My favorite one, about how we program our classes and how we coach and how we allow people to be where they need to be.
Yes.
And get out of our ego, regardless of whether we're doing a choreographed style, a power-based style that's extremely, we'll say, transferable to outdoor environments or workouts, or something that's in the middle. But I would submit that the science doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Like, I think offered the choice, like, okay, it's going to feel horrible and you're going to burn fewer calories and get less fitness. What do you think? Who's in?
I think.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
And that for me, I'm passionate about this. So I guess now is as good a time as any to say, people gotta warm up.
Yeah.
Our bodies aren't ready to go. Your body doesn't care how long you have to work out. If you don't take it through its processes metabolically, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to feel terrible.
Yeah. And
for the metabolically inefficient, they're not going to, that once their body goes into that level, they're off to the races, right? Something I've been fond of saying lately with regard to any of our training, but often to the indoor cycling students, is think of, like, instead of your workouts being, because I know a lot of people are like, well, how many calories am I going to burn today? I'm like, can we think about our fitness as a wealth building strategy rather than living paycheck to paycheck?
Nice. Say that one more time.
If every day we need to think of our fitness as a wealth building strategy, not living paycheck to paycheck.
Let's go.
Let's go. Every single ride you do is just about how many calories I burn today. You are living paycheck to paycheck. You want to build a wealth strategy, and that is looking at the entirety of how you're training. And even if we just pared it down indoor cycling, you can't do the same thing every day, and you can't, and exercise is not a punishment for eating. So we want to help people build their metabolic processes.
I love that.
Right? So that you are...
I'm like taking notes right now. I'm seriously taking notes. Exercise is not a punishment for eating. Oh my God.
We have to function.
I love that.
Right? What are you doing to build a strategy? Some days you work out at a lower intensity. Some days it's kind of diversifying your investment, right?
Yeah.
But if all you're doing is every day, it's like, I need to burn this many calories because I ate X, Y, Z, fill in the blank. No. Help build your overall health. Whether it is, let's all start with health. This is the thing. This is, I guess, the part where I start to evangelize. Let's start with health. But if you want more than just health, and there's no such thing as just health. Health is awesome. But if you've been doing the same thing, and I see folks doing this all the time, not figuring out how to diversify what they're doing, and that sometimes pulling back or recover or do a different type of exercise intensity, you can do it all. You can do a lot of it on the bike. But anybody that's truly trying to seek results needs to vary their intensity levels with intention. Yeah. And a good coach is going to get out of their ego and be able to say, hey, this is the workout that I've intentionally prepared today.
Yeah.
But if you need to do this, whether it's lower or more intense, and I would, obviously cater it to whatever program I was delivering, I'm going to coach to that and say, hey, if today's your intensity, you're like, hey, Emily, you know what? I'm glad that you're going to do aerobic work today, but today is my HIIT day.
Yeah.
And I know that. Well, I'm going to make sure I offer opportunities within whatever aerobic interval I'm offering.
Sure.
For them to zero in on that 20%, which is all they need for the workout.
Yeah.
To be at that intensity level that they're really going for it, right? I'm going to be able to do that. And conversely, if I'm doing a really super high intensity workout and I know that I did that workout yesterday and the same person's there, I'm going to say, hey, dial it back today. When we do this, when we were doing this, do this instead.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to put yourself in a hole. If you really went there yesterday, don't go there again today.
Yeah. I love that because one of the things that I struggle with as an instructor is I totally will give everybody the opportunity and the permission to do what they need to do, but you still have a plan and you still want them to benefit from that plan. You still want them to see, and understand what's happening if they follow that plan. Right. And so you're always going to have the person that might need something different or that just, but I think for me specifically, the person, and you just hit on it, that will do the same thing every time, and I love how you said, hey, you should dial it back today. Or I love that because we believe so much in the science, so much in the benefits, so much in diversity that if you would just do it, you would see changes, you would see benefits, you would see results. And I struggle with people who, although we give that permission, won't change what they think they need to feel. And it's that exact same intensity, that exact same calorie burn, to your point, that exact same mileage every single time. I got to start early because I need my 20 and I need blah, blah, blah. And I need, and it's okay. I get it. I love goals, but there's so much more. There's so much more.
You know what I tell people? You know how many miles you rode in class today? 0. None. You rode no miles today.
Yeah.
You did a workout.
Yes.
What system of your body did you do?
Yeah.
Like, I love having those, and I do. I play with that as a joke. But the truth is, we went no miles. Yeah. We did a workout that maybe equivalent to that.
Sure.
Hopefully, and of course on the Awesome Stages bikes that we get to ride, we can see that and that equivalency. But
both of our bikes are like facing the same direction, by the way.
Oh, awesome. So what I will often remind folks is that this analogy seems to work, and maybe it doesn't work for everybody because maybe you're not a runner. But let's just say that let's say you're trying to go 6 miles, like you want to get there 20 miles on their bike or whatever it is in the session. Okay, well, if I was going to go outside and run 6 miles, and let's just say that it's a 10-minute mile and that's a relatively easy pace, and that's just my chill run, and I'm going to go out at my zone 2 and I ran 6 miles in an hour.
Yeah.
2-minute mile. And then on Tuesday I go out and I do a 10-minute mile warm up, and then I run mile repeats at 5.5 or 6 minute pace. And then I walk in between. And somehow I end up at 6 miles in an hour. Did I do the same workout?
I like that. Come on.
So it's a completely different thing.
Yes.
Right? I ended up there. But so I'll often look at the, and I hope nobody gets mad at me for saying this, but hey,
let's do it.
The 2 least important numbers on that console at the end are your average watts and your max watts.
Okay.
And I would say, especially for the person that, in my opinion, okay, and this is why, because your max on most of the bikes is something that you did. So I want to know what you can max out for 5 seconds, not just an anomaly that you stood up and it went to super high number.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
And every now and then that can be fun, but that doesn't tell me a lot about your fitness, right?
Right. No, exactly.
About your fitness.
Sure.
It means that you came out of the seat hard and hit it for 1 second.
That's it. That's
your
all.
Average watts might be great. And for somebody that's new, they're probably going to see that trending up for a while. Mm-hmm. But I can promise you that there's going to come a point where it's going to become very hard to change.
Yes.
You're going to, after time, and I think anytime you're using power on a bike, there's going to be a learning curve of watching your trends.
Yeah.
You're not even ready to do an FTP or anything like that. In functional threshold power test. You're not ready for that yet. So if you're just using it, just start paying attention. Just pay attention. When I feel like this, I see this, right? And in that beginning, just by improving efficiency, all those things, you're going to see a significant probably improvement in the average in the beginning.
Yeah.
That will stop.
Mm-hmm.
And if all I'm trying to do is improve my average, I'm either going to be frustrated or I'm never going to do the workout that you or I try to prescribe, because I'm afraid of my average dropping when I'm recovering from doing that super high anaerobic capacity or VO2 max interval, that if I want to repeat it, I need to recover all the way down to zone 1.
Right. And you're so worried about that average staying at a certain place that you're totally missing the work.
So you're stuck right in the gray zone. You never go high enough to get improvement, never go low enough to recover.
We need to clip this little part and play this on repeat online so we can learn some stuff. You said something a little bit ago about the warm up, about that being so important. And again, this is not me being critical of other and specifically online instructors. I know that the space that we live in, we have programmed everyone, at least that I know of, to, you need at least 10 minutes, 3 songs at minimal to get the body ready, right? More if you're doing a power class. And so when I think, and again, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this too, but in the online space, I use 2-3 songs to warm up all the time. And I'm constantly trying to educate whoever is taking my classes. This is important. This is how we, if you want to bake a cake at 400 degrees, there has to be a process where it doesn't just go to 400. We need to set that goal, and let the oven get there. Then we bake evenly. If we don't do that, we don't bake right. And so I think I got that from you too, from a power audition or something. I get so many things from you. I need to start quoting, just put you on the end of every quote. But yeah. And so I love that was instilled in me. In fact, not too long ago, I said, hey, if you keep coming to my classes, at some point, we're just going to do like aerobic, like the whole time, and just, it's going to be recovery. Because if you took my classes 15 years ago, it was the opposite. I'm so far on the other side now that we're just enjoying this. It was kind of a fun moment.
Well, that's super cool. I love hearing that. And I mean, I'm the first to admit, like, I was that person for the longest time, right? That's how I became an instructor, was probably because I annoyed the instructor that I was taking class from so much that she was like, either you stop doing more push-ups than me, or you start working for me. Like, stop. So let's stop, right? Like, notice me, I'm doing air jacks, And it wasn't until I learned about my body that I actually, I will say, with just as briefly as I can be, understanding that I was inflamed. I'm so passionate about this because I was misinformed and I was doing only high intensity and eating 0 fat. This is a whole other story, but like, it was the only time in my life I was teaching like 20 classes a week.
Wow.
And I gained weight.
That's crazy.
And I felt just inflamed.
Yeah.
I was probably a solid 10 pounds or more, 10 to 15 pounds heavier than I am today for, a few years in my early 20s. And it was when I started going long running, that I slowed it down and taught my body how to use fat as a fuel again.
Love it.
And that's my story. And I know that doesn't always, it's not everyone, but I'm here to say that, like, I was so stuck on, if I didn't do this amount, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do this. And I read literally, some of you, if you ever heard me talk before, I read Running for Dummies.
Yeah.
To train for my first half marathon that I didn't think I could do because I would grown up being a sprinter and running short distances. Mm-hmm. And it was like, just go long and you're going to add 10 minutes a week until you can run for whatever, 2 hours or whatever it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Huh. Well, this is easy. Within, I would say, less than a month, my body reverted to what I would have perceived as my more normal state. I felt better, and then I was able to achieve a different level. And then as I came to Lifetime, I actually got more and more into the science and understood why that was happening.
Yeah.
That why metabolically that type of training was important, and why just, jumping in back to your point about like not warming up, but like, I know this. I have showed up to the starting line of a race, warmed up and not warmed up. And the difference is pretty
I'm still here. I'm going to fix my camera.
That's okay. So anyway, I know, like, it's like, do you want to perform or do you want to fake perform? Like, you can have it feel harder and do less work, or you can take the time to get your body primed, like to go through the gears, right?
Yeah.
And it's just physiology.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, I think you're going to be proud of me, because I'm doing a series right now on my channel, and it's a progression of endurance. And on the fourth class, it's a 4-part series. We do a 15-minute zone 3, like at bottom of zone 3 too. And it's I've never done that, like in my classes, and explaining the benefits and really holding that space for 15 minutes. And the other thing with instructors, I don't think anybody would disagree with this conversation and what the benefits are, the different zone trainings and aerobic, anaerobic, and whether that's power, whether that's training heart rate zones, or even just RPE. Nobody would disagree with the benefits, but I think the temptation or the pressure, if you will, to entertain, to do something that makes people feel like they work hard, overrides the science and overrides what we actually should be doing. What do you think about that? Yeah.
Every day.
So an instructor may be reluctant to do a 5-minute, 10-minute, 8-minute push because they feel like, what am I going to say if we're just doing one thing for that long?
Right.
Is that fair to say?
I feel like that, certainly that's a concern for folks. For me, man, that's where I live.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I live for, because I love helping people find their way. If we kind of all go all the way back to the beginning of our conversation about getting people to hold themselves in an emotional space, all the short, this, and this, it's easy mentally because we're distracted.
Yeah.
But there's different ways to distract oneself, to have a goal and to say, you probably do this with your obstacle course racing. And I know this with my ultra stuff. It's like, everything is easier to mentally accept when you break it into pieces, right? We know this from our stages training, like Marina's beautiful discussion of like, if you just say clean the house versus if you break it into the different, okay, I'm going to do 3 loads of laundry, clean the upstairs bathroom or whatever. When you break things down into smaller tasks.
Yeah.
And so you can still break down a long set into smaller tasks.
Love it.
And I feel like, level of understanding what pacing and intensity is probably one of the hardest things for people to get. And a part of that's not their fault. It's like watts are, if you're measuring power output, it's super abstract until you start to understand it. Because at least like if I'm running a pace, I know like, oh, wow, I've never run a 5-minute mile in my life. Why would I start out at 5-minute pace for my marathon?
Yes.
But if I don't know what watts are and I just see, well, what's a big number? Right. And so I'm like, woohoo, I hit 400 for 15 seconds. And then I fell apart and I couldn't hang on. Like, if you understand it, we start to pace yourself differently. We start to understand, we give context. So I would invite any person to stand firm in who you are, what you believe, and what you know, and say, hey, come or don't.
Yeah.
This is the deal. And so I would say walk your talk.
Yeah.
Other thing I'm fond of saying is that endurance doesn't mean anything's easy. It means you can do hard things longer than other people.
Yes.
And the more
I totally stole that one from you too.
All right.
I said we could do hard things for longer periods of time. This is what this is going to do.
That's what it means to be under endurance.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to. I know this next question can be lengthy. I don't want it to be super lengthy because I know we can get into this, but I want I want you to give just the general overview of the difference between training just rate of perceived exertion, let's just say a scale from 1 to 10, training heart rate zones 1 through 5, and power zones 1 through 7. Tell me the bird's eye view of the difference of each one of those three.
I love this question so much because those three things work together beautifully in harmony.
Yes.
And data is awesome, and it can also be completely distracting. And I want to give credit to some of the great physiologists that I listened to. I feel like it was an amazing exercise scientist named Steven Seiler that I listened to on podcasts talking about this. But ultimately, it's drawing this, if you want to call it this triangulation between those three elements that helps us find where we want to go. That data was never meant to be prescriptive in the beginning. It was meant to be descriptive, right? So if we've lost our way, sometimes we're like, I have to hit this number. And sometimes you don't, right? Maybe you find and then you see what the number is. And then it's sort of a feedback loop, right? So sometimes you won't want to say that's going to give you information, don't have any knowledge to begin with. How can you say I should be at this level? No, find the effort level. Most of us, from an RPE perspective, our rate of perceived exertion, most of us have a pretty good idea of what these things are. Not when we talk about them in numbers, but if we go like, oh yeah, well, this is the pace that I would feel comfortable out, on a brisk walk with my dog. Sure. This is the pace that I would feel like I was really struggling to keep up with my friend on a bike ride or a hike or a run. Like, we all have this intuitively. We know what those things are. Like, mentally, we'd be like, oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Or muscularly, like, oh man, burning's getting real. Well, we can look under the hood and know what's happening there, but there's other reasons for that. So heart rate, we know, is a great measurement that I abandoned for a while because I became so in love with power that I forgot about heart rate and the relationship there. So it becomes like, my advice would be to take the advice that I've learned. Again, I stand on the shoulders of giants, is look at all of it together to paint the picture. Okay. Find the art in the science, right? Say like, I feel this way. It can be super confusing, but if you're looking at trends, I will go back and go back and go back and go back to trends. You're not going to know anything until you have at least some information. Like, when I feel like this, I see this number on my power meter, I see this number on my heart rate, and that is dependent on the duration of time as well. And if we go back to like, everything is about time. Yeah. Intensity is about time. High intensity intervals can be short. They can be relatively long for what people think of. It's all about like RPE, 10 out of 10 for how long? Right. The question, as you and I know, it's always for how long, because we have to recalibrate effort based on duration. And I'm fond of saying, and maybe I get in trouble for saying this, like telling people, you're not special. Like, if you don't need the recovery from that, you didn't do it.
Yeah. I 1,000% agree.
You're not special.
It's the person that you're doing maybe a HIIT class, right? And you're on a recovery and they're still bouncing in the back, they're still moving. You're like, why are you moving? You obviously didn't push then. If you
didn't do it. And that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. But if you think that you're special, that's not. I mean, I tried to show what an actual Tabata looks like. Oh no. When I was at one of the trainings recently, and I literally laid on the floor afterward.
Yeah.
I said I did 4 minutes. I tried. I didn't even make it through. For me, what was extremely high wattage for 20 seconds, I tried to rest for 10 and repeat it. I think I maybe made it for like a couple, and then I laid on the floor and I said, is this how you're teaching Tabata? Because if you're not, you can call it whatever you want, but that's not Tabata.
Yeah, no, it's got to be all out, and it can't be like an hour.
I was on the floor.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So,
are we lightning rounding?
Lightning rounding. Yes. This is where I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to repeat the question, and then you are going to just tell me the simple one phrase answer. Okay. So here we go. Lightning round. One thing I do every morning that sets me up for success is?
I drink coffee. Sorry.
All right. You drink coffee. I love it. If I was
and my green streak.
And your greens. All right. Got to get the greens in. Okay. One book that has changed my life is, and it could be many, but one that comes to mind.
There are so many. You know, I'm a crazy, voracious, crazy reader. Dang. Wow. I have the only one that keeps coming to my mind. I read, it's called The Myths of Avalon. I was very into mythology when I was a kid and like the Arthurian legends. And that was a book that told the Arthur legend from the legend of King Arthur and Camelot, because I played Guinevere in Camelot once. Like, all right. Throw that in there. And maybe that's why it changed my perspective, but it told the story from the perspective of women. And I found that very empowering.
Love it. Love it. One unusual daily ritual that supports my productivity every day is?
I don't know if it's unusual. I have to do my Wordle first thing in the morning.
To do what?
I have to do the Wordle, and I try to get it I do Wordle, connections, and I try to get to Queen Bee on the spelling bee every morning.
There you go.
I'm a little insane with the words.
I love it.
You asked about the book, I was like,
that's why your vocabulary is like so rich. Okay, one of my favorite pieces of advice to give others is,
you don't know everything, you never will. And the smarter you think you are, the less you know. And the less you think you know, the smarter you are.
Let's go. Let's go. All right. One more. If you want to make 2024 better than 2023, make sure you
work in the margins. Find the small things.
Love
and
it.
I'm not saying anything. There's a great book called Atomic Habits that I recommend anybody.
Yes.
About
James Clear.
James Clear, correct. Yeah.
Come on. One of my
about finding something rather than trying to do one thing and then do something else. Because I think that without getting too deep in any of this, the world's a crazy place right now.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get caught up and distracted and all those things. Pay attention.
Love it.
Pay attention. That's the thing. Pay attention.
Lot going on. There's a lot there. This was amazing.
Things that matter, right?
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to all of it. There's so much noise. And I'll leave you with you know this. Most people want your attention or your money or both. So try to see through that the best that you can. And that's what I try to do every day. And I know that I don't succeed at a lot of things, but hey, I'm working on it. Like, I'm a work in progress, and I hope I never get there because I don't want to be done.
Love it. Love it. Well, Emily, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been such a fun conversation. We could easily go forever.
Oh my gosh. No, yeah, we can. We'll have to do it again.
We will. We'll do it when you start your podcast, because we're going to make sure that you start that thing.
I do.
Yes. The world needs you. The world needs
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, everybody. It was so great to have you. Thank you for getting to the end of this and listening. We'll see you on the next episode.